Hi, I'm Ariel Leon, and in this video, I'm going to talk about handstand alignment and demonstrate how to do it on your own. First, start with your arms out in front of you like this. Take your hands shoulder distance apart. If you're new to handstand practice, you could take your hands a little bit wider apart to create a bigger base to help you balance. As for the orientation of your hands, imagine your peace fingers had two parallel lines shooting straight up to the sky. That's the alignment we're going to find. Now add a little bit of a shoulder shrug. Roll your shoulders back and down, and then push your hands forward. Protract your shoulder blades like you do in cat pose. Micro bend your elbows a little bit and see if we can get the elbow creases to look in at one another, more or less. Now, we want to be able to use our fingertips the same way we use our toes when we're walking to help us balance. So for a moment, take your fingertips to touch, and the ball mounds of your hands, the metacarpal knuckles, and the heels of your hands. But keep a little bit of space between that middle knuckle and in the palm arch. So this bit of space allows you to rebound. You can press into the fingertips to help you catch your balance, as opposed to if the fingers were flat, you got no give. Nothing can help you there. So keeping a little bend in your fingertips might take some extra awareness, but it's a great tool that you can carry with you into all of your yoga asana. And also note, the majority of your weight is going to be in the ball mounds of your hands, always. That way we protect our wrists. So now we're going to come onto the feet and see if we can find the rest of the alignment. With your hands out in front of you, do a little shoulder shrug and then push your palms forward like you're doing cat pose in the upper back. Find that grip in the fingertips, the ball mounds of your hands, and then bring your arms up over your head. Now when the arms lift up, the rib cage likes to stick out because they're connected. So whenever the arms are lifted, check back in. It should feel like the lower ribs can pull in and down. And when you lengthen your tailbone towards your heels, the low belly starts to lift in and up, completing the integration of your upper half with your lower half. Now for the legs, use the power of your quads and your glutes. Fire them up. You want to use your inner thighs too, so bring your big toes to touch. Whenever you're balancing on your hands, if you could think big toes touch, then at least you know your feet have found one another. And from there, you can integrate the rest of your alignment. So with the big toes touching, arms up overhead, ribs drawn in, tailbone long, fire up the quads, the glutes, squeeze the inner line of your legs together, and then slowly rise up onto your tippy toes. If you're losing your balance, squeeze into the midline a little bit more, keeping the heels slightly separated, finding that internal rotation in your legs. Lengthen through the tail again, turn on the lower abs, feel the armpits drawing in towards the shoulder joint, and then slowly start to look up. Awesome, relax. Now, you might have noticed when you look up and your head drops back, your lower back also sways. These two natural curves in our spine often mirror one another. So the challenge is, can you look up without dropping your head back? Imagine you could see through your eyebrows. So as I tilt my eyeballs upwards, I'm going to try to find the ceiling without letting my head drop back. And then when the arms come up overhead, I'll keep looking towards my thumbs. Drawing the ribs in, lengthen through the tail so you can find that symmetry in the natural curves in your neck and low back. Drawing the big toes together, lift the heels, squeeze the knees, lengthen through the tail for 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Now, should note that when we're starting our handstand practice, we often are looking at our hands, but advanced alignment, you would have your eyes straight ahead, or you might be looking at your feet with the ears directly between the arms. I'm still working on this piece, so for now, be all right with looking at your hands, but just notice whenever the head drops back, can you reduce the recline, in your lower spine as well. So I'll show you how I like to come into handstand, and I'll find all that same alignment we talked about. I'll have my hands at shoulder distance apart. I imagine two parallel lines shooting through my peace fingers. I'm pressing into the ball mounds of my hands and my fingertips. And I'm gonna come into this really short downward dog so I can find that cat pose in the spine. Drawing the armpits in, the ribs hollow. Now I'm gonna look at my hands and try to bring my feet as close to my hands as I can. I'm coming onto my tippy toes so I can activate this floint, this half flex, half point. And that's gonna maintain throughout my whole handstand practice. Now I'm gonna lift my dominant leg, my right leg, and I'm gonna keep that internal rotation. If the toes start to open towards the side, I'm gonna lose my integrity, my strength. So with the internal rotation, I'm gonna use the hamstring of my lifted leg to help drive my lifted toes towards the sky. And the moment my kicking foot leaves the floor, I'm gonna pull my heel in towards the seat. I'm gonna do all of it on a breath out. Shoulders wrap, ribs in, exhaling, bouncing off the ground. I try to find the sky with my lifted leg. And as the kicking foot meets the opposite knee, I'm gonna just make sure I catch my balance and integrate. And then I'll slowly drag my toes up my straight leg and bring my big toes to touch. Pressing to the ball mounds of my hands, I'm using my fingers to counterbalance, ribs in, and maybe the eyes start to drop so you can see the thumbs. A wall is a great prop, and I'll show you how to use your wall space in the next video. Stay with it. Thanks for practicing.